the second half of our project that Sophia, Maria, and I worked on were the case studies, applying the framework that these three really worked very hard in forming. And I come from my concentration is international law. So when we were discussing our plethora of different case studies that we could have talked about, global warming was thrown out, and I chose to go into that a little bit on the basis of an international environmental law background. So it might be slanted a little bit toward law. One thing that I just want to say before I start talking about my actual fun paper that I did is that I want to say that global warming is a huge topic, that I can never pretend to know everything about it or even express that to you. Really, the primary thing that I have is an assumption that the science that is out there is correct, and also the assumption that there is a human element, there is a human contribution to global warming. Without that, this entire case study would be thrown out. So I had to start off with that as my primary assumption. So there's my little beginning. Got that one. All right. So I'm not going to go into what all of these laws mean. So if you know it, you know it. You don't, you don't. But this is the evolution of international environmental law when it comes to talking about climate change, global warming, and where it is mentioned, how it started, how it continued, and obviously well, maybe not obviously, but the UNFCCC, or the middle one of the three, is still the primary document that is used, and as you can tell, it's over a decade old, and many countries also have adopted the Kyoto Protocol. I won't go into all of the details of all of that, because I want to talk about our wonderful actors that we have here, okay? And I literally am talking about them as if they are the actors. The government really, when it comes to global warming, they act as the primary actors of change at the global and the governmental state level for any kind of change that happen. And before I go on, I just wanted to point out that throughout this presentation, I wanted to point out the positive things, the positive aspects of global warming. Not very positive aspects, but the positive examples of what is being done to combat global warming. And because so much has been written about what is going wrong, what's just, all the bad stuff. It's time to talk a little bit about the good stuff and what each of these actors are actually doing out there. And I have bunches of examples. I'm not going to go into all of them, give you a couple later. But it really is astounding how much good is actually happening out there. And so really to find that out, it's a lot of fun. Right? Private sector obviously has a big impact, but as I was doing my research, I found that it had more of an impact than I thought. And I really view the private sector as the actor with the most potential for growth in their actual actions. Oil companies and banks and all different kinds of businesses have very concrete impact. Leave it at that. Civil society acts as a voice for global warming, and they're the ones that keep global warming on as a major issue, and they also really are the voice of change for it. And without civil society, without both individuals and groups, nothing can happen. And as you will see throughout all of our presentations, it once again will come down to the individuals. Now, I went into several different examples, as I said. However, there was one primary example that I used to bring together the entire project and really apply global warming to a specific issue. And oddly enough, I chose the French nuclear energy program, which kind of sounds like it shouldn't be there. But there are many environmentalists who believe that this is actually a good thing, that nuclear energy programs are positive for the environment, and I have a lot of statistics back up. But the primary reason that I used this was because it really exemplified the way that the three actors really work together very well. And the French nuclear energy program obviously it starts with the government, and it comes down from the government. The government then utilizes both the private sector and civil society as beacons of information, as the people that are putting in the safety networks that are highly necessary for any nuclear energy program. And really, it's been so successful that now they are going on to export their nuclear energy knowledge and about the program. So this is now being acknowledged throughout many countries, many governments, as a potential way of changing and actually making the environment a little better. And their specific emissions are not anywhere near as large as all the rest of Europe. So this has been a huge program for them for the elimination of a lot of really harmful things that are out there. As you can see, and you have this in your packets. It's very busy slide. That this is how I applied the framework, or the French nuclear energy program in an example. And I'm not going to go into it at all, because I already have. I just spoke about it. If you want to read about it, feel free. All right. So now we have, as we talked about several times, we have these wonderful pillars of sustainable development. Well, the pillars, one of them could actually be, I could write solely on global warming. That's, of course, environmental sustainability. There's a lot of information out there about environmental sustainability and global warming, so I'm not going to really go into that a whole lot. And good governance is, I found through looking through their information that transparency obviously is a huge thing for good governance. How does that translate to global warming? Well, in environmental transparency. And there are plenty of environmental transparency agencies out there that I had no idea were actually acting as watchdogs. And so this is how, of course, civil society is looking at things and saying, hey, you government, you do this right, you do that right, you do that wrong, you better be better. So those are the two pillars that I really didn't want to focus too much on, because I feel that our entire project, one of the most unique parts about it was the cultural sensitivity pillar. And also because a lot of my interests are in indigenous groups. I have written a few papers and have a little bit more of a background in anthropology. So I have then looked at, in more detail, cultural sensitivity. And I've gone into specifically 2 examples. Those examples are the Yanomami, who don't need to know about, won't talk about them anymore. But they're in South America. And then the Inuits, who I feel are a very relevant example. I will go into them in just a moment because I have an odd slide in the middle. And that is about international environmental law and indigenous people. Now, this is the progression, as I showed before, about climate change and environmental law, and the progression of it within that framework. This is specifically for indigenous peoples, and how indigenous peoples and the environment have coexisted within international law in the development of those. There is acknowledgement, maybe even more acknowledgement, of the role of indigenous peoples in the formation of international law than almost anywhere else in society. So This is a huge area of growth for the rest of the actors, the rest of the policymakers, so on and so forth. However, I just wanted to highlight here a little bit of the international law that we have. And now I wanted to just talk a little bit about the Inuits. Now the Inuits I chose because they are being impacted directly and immediately by global warming. They are losing their land because the ice caps are melting, and therefore they need to have maybe even a bigger voice than the rest of us. Their habitat is going away. Whereas a lot of times with global warming, we talk about the loss of various different species of animals. This time we're talking about humans, so it becomes a little bit more real when you talk about the Inuits. Now they have taken out a few lawsuits that are very interesting and are ongoing. Don't want to really talk about them, but I really just wanted to stress the great value of the inclusion of anyone who has any kind of traditional knowledge about land and about the usage of our resources that is not being currently used. And they really are the primary example for that. Now, just to mention a few of the challenges that each of the actors faces. The government really, their major challenge is the potential loss of sovereignty. And we're going to be talking about adhering to any kind of international laws, especially regarding your own environment and what you are doing within your own borders. You're losing an element of sovereignty. Private sector, they have a huge challenge. Many of them have to completely redo the way they're doing things so that they can become more eco-friendly and they can become really businesses that will change in a good, positive way instead of in a negative way. And many of them are trying to recover from those negative things. Civil society, again, we want to stress the importance of civil society and individuals specifically as the voices of change. And for them to keep global warming as a hot issue, that is probably the single biggest challenge within this entire challenge. All right? Thank you, and I want to introduce